Thanks so much to SAQA for this wonderful opportunity to share my work, and to those of you who have joined us, and I hope you're all doing really, really well. So why petroglyphs? Petroglyphs are on my quilt. You'll see them in a minute. I've had a lifelong interest in First Nations or Indigenous cultures. My ex-husband is Cree from Northern Quebec, and an early trip with our sons was to a National Historic Site in Canada. I live near Toronto, Canada, called Petroglyph National Park, and it's in Peterborough, Ontario. And I was really, really moved by the stories that were told by the over 900 images that were carved into the limestone. Petroglyphs, they're found around the world, and they're often very hard to date, and they range in age from many thousands to hundreds of years old. And I feel that this ancient art, these rocks that teach, are portals to past artists and their lives. And they also offer a really profound connection to the spirit world. For me, and I imagine for the people that lived long ago and created these images. So my husband Fred and I now make these fabulous World Heritage sites our destinations very often when we travel. And here I am in Aztec Ruins National Monument near Farmington, New Mexico. And the enchanting tiny doorways went on forever behind me. Next, please. This is my piece for Opposites Attract, and it's called Written in Stone. It's 52 by 43, and it's based on some of the images at the aptly named Newspaper Rock in San Juan County in Utah. It has a huge collection of symbols, animals, fanciful human figures, and records of past events. There's just a few of them on this quilt. Written in Stone is a commentary on how we communicate then and now. That's the opposites that I was examining, the past and the present. How we do this using whatever materials we have at hand: rock, paper, cloth, blood, ink, clay, and now thread and paint and markers. Throughout human history, we've used such different methods, but we all have this universal longing to share our stories and make them come alive and maybe even endure. The corner blocks say love, 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 and the figures are all moving up towards the promise of a good future, we hope. Next, please. This is a detail, and it shows the construction technique of machine stitching 7-ounce canvas with some raw edges and some bound edges. And then I add hand embroidery, paint, and the figures were drawn in this piece with permanent marker. Because it was called Written in Stone, I wanted to do writing as well. So look around, see if you can see turtles and their eggs, deer, buffalo, lots of celestial symbols, and even people on horseback. Notice the emphasis on the oversized tracks and the hand and footprints that announce we were here. And you'll see that in petroglyphs around the world, hand and footprints. Next, please. The borders were done in commercial text fabrics, which annotate everything from the mundane to the sublime, like letters, lists, lexicons, and articles, the way that we do today. So many of us are makers and writers, and you can see food remains a constant source of interest. Next, please. This is at Newspaper Rock, and you can see that the sandstone has a dark rusty colored surface, which is called a desert varnish. It was carved into, revealing the lighter layers below. And I think it's really wonderful that these fragile images have remained, although you can see some of them are wearing off at the top. Next, please. This piece is behind me, and it's called Betalina Threads. It's 56 by 34. It takes its inspiration from a magical UNESCO petroglyph complex in northern Italy, which we first learned about on a TV show chronicling the world's oldest maps. So it's carved into a flat gray Permian sandstone rock, which is about 27 feet by 12 feet, and it's situated on a hilltop. It shows early agriculturally based village life. So I don't know if you can see fields, the lookout towers, walls, streams, and these really fantastical animals. It's said to be the first map evidencing the radical shift from nomadic hunting and gathering to a settled farming existence, which of course changed human history completely, because that meant that there was now territory to encircle and protect. Next, please. Here's a detail. This is my favorite part of this quilt, were the tall houses and the really wonky people and wonky critters. But I was amazed that the houses looked like they had windows and doors and multiple stories. The figures on the art quilt were all drawn in free motion on my regular size domestic machine, and I used black threads to do that. Next, please. When we visited Betalina, there I am there, we were alone for hours, and I was in my glory. I just still remember being radiantly happy there. You can see the Swiss Italian Alps behind us in the background, and the houses that were in the last shot are down by my feet. It's probably hard to see, but they were down to the left of my feet. The marks here don't show two colors. They're kind of worn and faded, so they're hard to read, but you know, I took a lot of pictures. Next, please. I've been inspired to make many petroglyph stamps from different materials, and I use them often in my work. They're variations on ancient petroglyphs with lots of my own designs added. I love my whimsical bird-headed figures most of all. Dancing with the Man on the Moon was made for Suzanne Miller-Jones' exhibition called Fly Me to the Moon a few years ago. I imagine ancient people reaching out to the heavens in despair and in celebration. The background is eco-dyed cotton. The figures are printed and painted with acrylics, and the thin black line represents the divide between here and there, now and then, the prayer and the response. Next, please. This is Genesis, and it went to an exhibition called Shapeshifters in Oregon. The ultimate transformation is, of course, procreation. I wonder if ancient people understood how we are born, or just how those eggs, our children, appeared. I remain constantly engaged by my own imaginings of the tales that these petroglyphs might tell. Next, please. Here's another quote using the same female figure. I think of it as a female figure by the sway of her hips and the sort of swagger that she's got going on. This one's called To the Other Place. It's 22 by 33, and it highlights the portal into potential, the moment that the curtain parts the veil of time and space and we walk through. Maybe we walk into the afterlife. Maybe we simply go to the places where we dream or meditate. Next, please. This is Parowan Gap in Utah, and it's a high, narrow, windy pass carved out by an ancient river, and it's filled with images. The carvings there have been done over time by different groups, just like modern day graffiti artists layering over other people's work. The petroglyph behind me tells the story of a great leader who led his people through many hardships to arrive at this place. And you can sort of see the sort of triangular shape of the circle at the bottom, and that was to represent that he died there, so his head is down. But he got them this far, and so he was greatly honored. Next, please. It's hard to express the joy and connection I feel in these sacred places. I speculate that I was a petroglyph artist for many past lives, and finding glimpses of the work that remains delights me. I'm so grateful for the adventures and travels that have brought me back to my petroglyph beginnings. Next, please. Highlighting another one of my themes, the meaning of chairs, is my spotlight auction piece for this year. It's called Watching Over Us All. The solid antique chair represents us being grounded and sitting still in a safe place, now during COVID and at any time really. The wings come from the guardians who love and protect all of us. They were made using a digitally altered photo transfer of ptarmigan wings, which my son Jordan saved for me from a successful winter hunt. He lives up north on the reserve, and he lives quite a traditional life in a lot of ways. So coming full circle, I also wish to honor and share the many blessings of today's First Nations cultures.